5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of Culture Clash Live. And we have something very exciting for you. We have The Oath, a Kaotica Studios Batman fan film with interview with director Johnny K and his awesome cast. And first of all, though, I would like to bring on my co-host, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
You put the signal in the sky, and I have answered it.
That's right.
I am excited. This is an amazing fan film we're about to talk about. Of course, our good friend Johnny K, the immensely talented Johnny K, as a director, award-winning. And I have a feeling there will be many more awards in his future as well.
Agreed. Now, for those of you that may not know what's going on with The Oath in this Batman fan film, just want to give you a little introduction here. Fandom Podcast Network is proud to present special Culture Clash Live YouTube event. Kaotica Studios presents The Oath, a Batman fan film. The Oath is a Batman fan film produced by Kaotica Studios, scheduled for release yesterday. It is now live on YouTube. Make sure you check out Kaotica Studios on YouTube. And it is written and directed by our friend, filmmaker Johnny K. The short film stars Jerry Morgan, Oz Keenum, Chris Conkey. Please let me know if I just did that wrong and butchered your name. And our buddy Will Guillermo, and is set 1 week before the events of Tim Burton's Batman 1989 film. The Oath is a non-profit short film that is released, and it is free to see on Kaotica Studios. Produced by Kaotica Studios. Kyle, we've heard of this before. This place is awesome.
They've done a few. They've done a few things. There was something award-winning, Kevin.
Yes,
if I remember right.
Yes, award-winning short, The Killer of Grassy Ridge. Also coming up, Eagle One and Farragut Forward. The Oath is a labor of love created by Batman fans for Batman fans. And we have a very special guest to start off with that. Of course, that is the director, filmmaker, Mr. Johnny K. Johnny, welcome. How are you?
I'm all good, guys. Thanks for bringing me back. I must not have upset you too much the last time, so you invited me back.
Well, I'm glad you're back because Kaotica Studios, it's your film, I guess, film studio. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we started Kaotica back in 2019 with The Killer of Grassy Ridge. The company was born out of laziness because I did not want to create a new social media following with every movie I did for the rest of my life. So it made sense to me to, start my own independent production company. That way I've got, one Facebook page, one Twitter account, one Instagram, and just kind of grow it from there and kind of keep the same audience, as we go project to project. Made a lot more sense. So it was kind of born out of laziness, but now here we are 3 years later, and happens to be, a pretty important thing because it actually is a business. We're insured with production insurance, and we're an LLC. So there's a lot more business things that come into it now, kind of the deeper into filmmaking we go. But yeah, that's Kaotica.
That's great, man. I'm very, very happy for you. And we are proud to have you and your cast here. This is Culture Clash Live, episode 212, The Oath. We'll get into a little more of the background of this, Johnny, because Kyle and I are both very excited about what you have going on here. But we want to introduce the rest of our special guests here. Go ahead and let us know who else we got here.
Yeah, we'll start. We'll do them in a different order this time. So first up, he plays our mobster, and if you've seen Batman '89, Jack Palance's character of Carl Grissom. So we wrote this character to kind of be one of Carl Grissom's captains, like an equivalent to Jack Napier, Jack Nicholson. And he is played by Mr. Oz Keenum, who is based down in Atlanta.
Hello.
Oz, you are in my old stomping grounds. I lived in Atlanta for 12 years. Welcome to the Fandom Podcast Network.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm not quite sure where your stomping grounds are, but I'm closer to Marietta, but I'm sure you know where that is.
Yeah, I lived near that area as well. Roswell was where I lived, where most of my time was. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm closer to Roswell. I can run to Roswell without getting tired.
Yes, had some good years there. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's where I met Johnny for the first time at Dragon Con there in Atlanta. So
That's a distinct possibility.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Oz. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Johnny, who else we got?
We got a guy who wears a cape a lot, and I don't mean for the movie. He wears it like around his house in the middle of the night. He wears the bat costume to the fridge to get cheese at 3 a.m. But he is a cosplayer here in the DC area. He is the reason we're all here. I blame every bit of this on him because he bought a Batman costume a couple years ago, and he is Mr. Guillermo Mejia, our Batman.
How's it going, everybody?
Right.
Hello.
What's up? We know him, of course.
I just like to correct something. I don't wear the bat suit at 3 o'clock in the morning because I can't figure out how to put the cowl on at that hour.
Wait, now come on. If I had a cape and cowl like you have, I'd be wearing it all the time too. Let's be honest. If you're any kind of Batman fan, you're wearing that all the time.
You say that, but the third time you realize you can't turn your neck, you're gonna get tired of it real quick.
Well, Guillermo, I'm going to call you Will because that's how I know you for many years. Yeah. Unless you want to do Cutter Zone, I'm fine with that as well. So.
I don't think this is the time and the place for that one.
Okay. Inside joke there. Some people get it. And I want to welcome everyone in YouTube land. Please feel free to shout out some comments and questions for us for later in the show. Good to see you guys there. So, all right. Who else have we got here, Johnny? I think we got someone big.
We do. I hinted at it earlier. Marketing this movie was a little bit of a struggle because when you make a Batman movie set in the Batverse, people assume that Batman is your main character. And I just really couldn't tell people, no, it's not really, Batman is more like the shark in Jaws, which we can get into. But if Batman is not the main character, then who is? And when we wrote the script for The Oath, we wanted it focused around a Gotham police officer, a veteran, a sergeant who's been around and just kind of living in that world. He is the main character of The Oath. He plays a character named Sergeant Frank Kelly, and the actor's name, a very talented man who is in every scene, and he stood out in the pouring rain, and he never complained once, Mr. Jerry Morgan.
Jerry, welcome to the Fandom Podcast Network. How are you?
Oh, it's good to be here.
I just have a question. When you put on those Gotham jackets, did you have to work them in a little bit, or did they creak a lot? How'd those fit?
The boots or the jacket? Because I have a whole story behind
the jacket and the boots. Yeah.
The jacket fit really well. It was a complete system, and the boots fit well. They just didn't walk well.
Gotcha. Well, welcome. We are really glad to have you all guys here. But we are talking about The Oath here. Batman fan film. Johnny K, our director here, buddy. Look at that. Working there, and he's with Heather, lovely Heather there at the red carpet, which we'll get into in just a little bit here. But I did want to give a shout out to some other stuff you've done here. The Killer of Grassy Ridge, award-winning. I ran out of space here with all the words. Was this two-sided? I couldn't tell.
It's a 2-page piece. I'll mail you the second page.
I just wanted to let people know that if you are listening to this podcast, make sure you check out the YouTube because we have a lot of visual representation here and showing stuff from behind the scenes and red carpet and stuff. But Johnny, first of all, congratulations again on all your awards for The Killer of Grassy Ridge. And it's nice to know that you've kept things going with the Oath.
Yeah, thank you, man. This is where it all started. I gave myself 60 days to make that movie. And I knew that at the end of that 60-day period, I would either have a movie or I wouldn't. And I went ahead and went for it. And I had no idea it was going to go on and do what it did. And we did really well in those festivals and, just happy to keep the momentum going. And I'm glad other people, dug my work besides me and my family.
All right. Well, first of all, you know what? I want to do this first. I want to find out how each one of you guys got in contact with each other to start this film. And Johnny, let's go ahead and start with you and Will, because there's a concept that went here. And I want to get the story behind how it just clicked. And you're like, you know what? I think we can do something here. So give us the genesis of how this started.
Yeah, I turned on my phone one day and I saw a picture of William standing in a bat suit, and my mind immediately went to, you know what, I want to get him over to the house and do a photo shoot, because I'm a photographer, by heart. That's my background, and I love lighting and noir and edge lighting and shadows, and I'm really into that. So I texted William and I said, you got to get over to the house. Let's do a photo shoot with this brand spanking new bat suit. And I didn't have to twist his arm. Let's just say that. I think he came over in about 15 minutes later. I think no, it was a little later than that. But yeah, we just went out to the garage. We fired up the smoke machine, as you see in a couple of shots there. We turned the lights off because I don't like a lot of light on Batman. I think he looks cooler in the dark. And yeah, it took about 5 or 6 pictures before I thought, I wonder how well that suit moves. I wonder if we can maybe put some motion into these pictures and maybe write a short film around it. And I showed William the shots right after we got done, and I think he was kind of thinking the same thing. And next thing you know, a few weeks later, we had a script, and fast forward 9 months, and we're standing in the street filming a Batman movie. But it really was this photo shoot in the garage that started everything, and I blame him for all of this.
All right. Well, Will, I got to ask you, when you decided to tell us the background of why you wanted the bat suit in the first place, and what were you planning on doing with it? Just like a Dragon Con cosplay or what? What's going on here?
Yeah, sure. Like as you introduced me, I'm a cosplayer here in the DC area, and that was just one of those dream cosplays that I'd always wanted to do. And once the world kind of shut down in 2020 for a little bit, I'd already been kind of researching it for a little while. I've always done a lot of cosplay in different areas, different things. And finally, I had the time and I guess the money, since I wasn't traveling anywhere, to just finally commit to doing this. So did a little bit of research. I finally found a one-stop shop. It's a group of vendors called the Cave Creature Workshops based out of Colombia. And basically, they were just able to provide the whole thing from the cowl all the way down to the boots. And they were actually even done similar to the Michael Keaton style. They were built out of Nikes and then just built around that. So they're my favorite part of the costume. And that's really much it. And it also became just a thing that I always gave myself one thing. I always told myself, if I ever cosplay Batman, I'm only going to do it once. And there's only one choice, and it's Michael Keaton's Batman. So that's kind of the genesis of how I ended up actually getting the suit.
Did you think Johnny was crazy about let's move?
I mean, Johnny and I have so many, shared interests. It's not surprising. I don't know if we ever, before the Batsuit, I'm not sure if we ever talked as much about 89 as we have over the last 2 years. But because, we've had G.I. Joe in common, Star Trek in common, professional wrestling. So it's not a surprise. And again, I had just recently had the suit, and Johnny saw I put on Facebook some test shots, and they were okay, but they were like out there in natural sunlight, and it was just really wanted to see what the suit moved. And then when Johnny reached out and said, let's shoot the suit for real, I was excited, because you don't buy a suit and just like let it sit in a box. You want to wear it, you want it to like look awesome. So
Gotcha.
Real quick, since we're talking about the suit, Joseph Hauser has a pretty interesting question that I think Johnny and William can probably answer for us. Probably been asked many times. Did you all have to jump through hoops and take people to dinner to get the green light to use the Batman image on this film? So I think that's a question a lot of people have when it comes to some of these fan films, Johnny.
Yeah, I'll give you there's a really long answer to that, but I'll give you the short answer. My experience has been, anytime you ask permission to get the green light, you're probably not going to get it. The other strategy might be just to make sure you stop if you get the red light. That's kind of my strategy. I did do my research when we started the Oath to make sure that we were not going to get shut down by Warner Brothers after we spent 2 years of our lives on this project. That was pretty important to me. So I did my research. There's a ton of really good Batman fan films that are out there on YouTube. Some of them have exponentially larger budgets than what we just shot the Oath with. and they've got some pretty big names, Hollywood actors in those. And once I saw those, if they're not shutting those guys down, I had no real, fear that we would get shut down. And at the bottom, the bottom line is we're certainly not profiting off of this. The Oath is obviously a nonprofit fan film. There's absolutely no money coming out of this. I usually describe it like the Bermuda Triangle. Like the money all goes in and you never see it again. It never comes back out. So I never really had a lot of fear that we would get shut down. Actually, my biggest fear is that somebody else out there making a Batman fan film or any other, piece of Warner Brothers IP might do something stupid or get greedy and make some money. And then that would cause Warner Brothers to drop the hammer on all of us. So that was one of my big fears, is that we would get shut down by someone else's mistake. But we're above board with what we're doing, and certainly I've never made a dollar from it, and nor has anybody else. So.
Gotcha.
And actually, Will, I have one question for you. How long does it take to put on the suit?
It's not as bad as you think. The suit actually, on average, I can get into the suit in about 20 minutes, depending on how finicky the back zipper wants to be, though. That's the fun factor. Getting out of the suit's also not as bad, but I still wouldn't say it's the most fun thing in the world. As it should be. Anybody who knows a little bit about that Michael Keaton suit, or rather, I should say, the two Michael Keaton suits, since there's been two of them. Oh, apologies for that. Anybody who knows about the two suits knows that they're not the most comfortable things to wear. So honestly, I just think it's part of the experience, and it just adds to the body language anyway when I'm in it.
Well, I wanted to get to you, Jerry. Jerry, you are the star of this film, and you play Sergeant Frank Kelly, who is conflicted with moral issues in this film. And I just want to say, first of all, fantastic performance, man. I could read it in your eyes. I can read it in your facial expressions and in your body language, that what your character was going through here. And I wanted to kind of get your background here of when you were first approached about this project.
You're very kind. So John and I met on the Good Lord Bird, and just immediately clicked. And he came to me one day, and we had talked about film and stuff, and he said, I have a part that I'd like you to play. It's kind of purpose built for you. He said he needed somebody disgruntled, so I was like, well, I got you there. So.
What did you think of the character that you were playing? Was this something that you felt that you could, like this could be me?
Yeah. Well, I read through the script, and I felt, I guess, a kinship with Sergeant Kelly. We do anything for our family, right? And I think that's what drove my thought process in this, was that you're going to do what you need to do to take care of your family. And that from the beginning, me being a veteran good cop, one of the few left, trying to do jumping over to the dark side. I tell you, when Oz touched my badge, I actually had feelings about that. So, yeah.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no. And speaking of Oz,
I felt those feelings.
Oz, I would love to get your thoughts on how you were first approached for this. And yeah.
Well, similar story as Jerry. I met Johnny K on the set of The Good Lord Bird. My first introduction to film. I had done theater as a kid for 7 or 8 years and took a 30-year break, and just had a wonderful massage therapist that had also been in a Batman film. Just encouraged me to get out there. And The Good Lord Bird came around, and he's like, I'm going to give you a number to casting director, and I want you to get in touch with her, and I guarantee you got work just to start. And that's where I met Johnny and a lot of other lifelong friends that I could spend minutes addressing. But after that time, getting to know each other, I saw The Killer at Grassy Ridge. It I just had to be part of something.
Tell me a little bit about your character, Jimmy Atlas. Sharp dresser. I would call him some muscle for the mob, I guess. Tell me a little bit about that character.
Jimmy Atlas was an original character written by Johnny. Within the timeline of obviously my character isn't addressed beyond this bit of timeline, but I wanted to take it as far as I could. I knew if I was an equal to Jack Napier, I wanted to, and we're both vying for the same position someday, I wanted to make sure my methods of that approach was different than Napier. My character, I felt in my heart, and of course, as we know, we see in Tim Burton's film, Nicholson goes through some things, including like toxic whatnots. So I felt as though my character is vying for the same position. I knew that Napier was a loose cannon, and I felt his day was coming someday. So I was just I wanted to make my character like deadpan, focused, but sure of me knowing that I'm going to get what I want. So that's why I asked Johnny, do you think I should touch Frank's badge? Because I feel as though it's like just a subtle look. I got you right here near to your heart, because your heart is what's leading you to this decision you're making right now. So I feel as though I got you. It's not just a simple bribe. It's I've got you.
Yeah.
And I want to carry that energy into the next event of what Jimmy Atlas could be, because we never hear about him again, but I may have something. I want to build some tension and then just go out with style. Maybe.
Definitely do that. Kyle.
Here, listen to us talk to him. A question I actually have for everybody here. The Batman 89 is such a unique world. It's really, even how it changes from the Batman 89 to Batman Returns. What was it like trying to immerse yourself into that world, both as actors and Johnny as you as the director? Because it that whole Tim Burton style and that feeling of it, you kind of have to get yourself in a proper mindset for that. And I'm curious to see, was it easy for you guys to do, or did it take a little work initially to get kind of feeling like you were part of that world? Johnny.
Oh, who wants to start? Was that for me or who? Anybody?
Jerry, why don't you go?
Anybody?
I'll run with that. Johnny's a good director, and as long as you're directable, he's going to put you in that mode. And just once you see his vision of how he wanted the things to play out, it felt natural. It was. I wasn't acting in that genre. We were in that genre, and we were there. He had covered all the bases.
Yeah. I personally felt a kinship in the idea and the approach of what he wanted, because I too love Tim Burton films, not just the Batman. I know Tim's got a certain style, and a lot of it is caricature. And just like the comics, some of them are caricatures. You got the pow, slam, stun. My character, I believe I have at least 3 of those little squiggly thought bubbles over certain little storyboards of what happened, and be frozen to the wall, stun, what have you. So watching that, and then watching the old Tim Burton, and then trying to make it somewhat comedic and still follow suit to the comic book, just because there's just so many different levels and elements, like even in the costume design. And I'm sure maybe Johnny will talk about it in a moment, having that costume designer reach out of the middle of nowhere going, wow, gosh, it's hard to articulate. I don't know. I just felt like I knew what I was supposed to do. All I needed was just let me see this and then take in everything I saw from, like in the comics or that little comedic, whatever. That's how I just put it together.
Yeah,
Jay, what about you?
When it comes,
you
yeah,
you had the suit,
When
so
it comes, yeah, there's when it comes to the suit does, luckily for me, I think half the work, because just that particular silhouette, the big neck, the specific like emblem, like that right there, you don't really confuse that with other live action Batmans. And that's one of the things that Johnny and I were on the page from very much day one. We were pretty much just had a couple of quick pointers. We were like, this is Keaton. This isn't Bale, and no Bale voice, none of that. And no quick movements like Affleck. It was for me, all I had to worry about was I wanted to make sure that I moved the way Michael Keaton and Carl Newman do in that movie. So that luckily that just meant that I was very narrow in my particular focus on just being like, I got to make sure that I move like him. The cape catches the wind a certain way. When you fight, there's a stiffness to it, which comes natural from that. And that became part of like the visual language of the movie. So for me, it was just a matter of making sure I nailed that part down, and everything else, from the fake trash to the posters to everything else, I let Johnny worry about that stuff.
Johnny, I wanted to give a shout out to another one of the cast members that isn't here. I was wondering if you could tell us a little. Yeah, tell us about now. How do you pronounce his last name?
You got it. You nailed it. Yeah, Conkey.
Conkey. Tell us how you got hold, or how you know Chris Conkey to is he a deputy? Who he is? I guess
he's. I didn't hear that last part, Kevin. What'd you say?
What's his rank as a police officer in this?
Oh, he's an officer. Yeah, he's an officer as opposed to Jerry, who is a sergeant. But yeah, like the rest of these guys, Chris and I met on another movie set. We were filming, I think it was The Comey Rule with Jeff Daniels. They filmed it here in DC, where Chris and I live nearby, and just met him on set. And like Jerry said before, you get there's a lot of downtime on sets, and you just end up kind of finding whoever's standing next to you, and you either like them or you don't. And in all these guys' cases, we all liked each other. Chris is no exception. He and I just got to talking, and then we saw each other again on another set maybe a couple months later. And that was probably early 2020. And then we just kept in touch. I cast Chris in Red Eagle 1, which was my second short film. I cast him to be a newscaster in that. And what really what impressed me with Chris that day is how prepared he was when he showed up. I knew right away, even though it was not a large part in that short film. I mean, he showed up as if it was Casablanca, and he had prepared. He knew everything left and right, and he was such a prepared actor, and he cared. I'm trying not to swear, but he gave a darn, and those are the people you want to surround yourself with, right? And then a couple years down the road, when you have another project coming up, you think, who do you know that could really just knock this out of the park? And I'll just mention it real quick, Kevin. All these guys, the three that are on here now, plus Chris, and then plus Michael Thumbo, who's also in the cast from The Killer at Grassy Ridge. All these guys were my number one picks for casting. There was no number two pick for each of their roles. It helps to kind of know the people you're writing for as you're working through the script, because you can write the script and tweak it exactly for the actors that are going to play the role. So that was enormously helpful for me to already know these guys going in and just kind of envision them in the character. I even drew the storyboards. I'm a terrible drawer, but I even drew the storyboards, and they vaguely resemble each of these guys, maybe, in the fact that they have like two eyes and a nose, and sometimes they have a mouth.
Well, this obviously is a fan film. The Oath is set in the world of the Tim Burton 1989 Batman film. Takes place about a week before the events of the Batman 89. And you asked for some help, and friends and fans came to help you support this. And I wanted you to kind of take a moment to say something about that. Yeah,
we did decide to go ahead and do crowdfunding on Indiegogo. that was actually a big deal for me because I don't like asking people for money. I mean, there's so many truly worthy causes out there, that's worth people giving their money to. I'm not sure that a Batman fan film is one of those. So I've always felt pretty weird about asking people for money. But obviously I did it. What really was the breaking point for me, we went through the city of Petersburg where we filmed, got all the permits, got everything we needed. The cost just kind of stacked up and up and up. Also knowing that we were going to be shooting hours away from where any of us live, we were going to incur all the hotel costs, all the travel, the food, just all the logistics you don't think of when you're making a movie. At the premiere the other night, I compared it to it's like moving a small army. You have to feed them. You have to make sure they have a place to use the bathroom. You can't overlook that stuff. You don't just turn up and turn the camera on. So the production costs were really starting to scope creep out of control into the thousands, well into the thousands. And I had a heart-to-heart with some folks that were close to me. And I said, why don't we go ahead and crowdfund this? And if I get $600, great. That's $600 less that I have to pay, right? And at the end of it, we raised almost $8,000 for the oath, which was, it was perfect for our needs. It was actually a little more than I expected to get, which is always a great problem to have. And I've got some pretty detailed spreadsheets to make sure we were always spending more than we were, more was going out than was coming in, just in case Warner Brothers ever decided to kind of crack down on anything. I wanted to make sure our books were completely clean, but we decided to crowdfund, got a lot of crowdfunders, a lot of interest. A lot of folks jumped on as co-producers, had an executive producer jump in. We had some really cool perks, including the artwork that you can see right behind me. That's a Gotham City painting. We actually put the prototype of that painting up and somebody grabbed it through the crowdfunder within like an hour. So I'll just take the opportunity. Like if you are watching this and you were one of our Indiegogo supporters, just know like we could not have made this movie without you. We could have. It just might have been an $800 movie instead of an $8,000 movie. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who supported this through Indiegogo. It's a really big deal.
You got awarded with a red carpet premiere, and I want to know, first of all, how that got set up. And you did it before the release of the movie actually on YouTube. And I'm going to share some pictures here, but this is really, really cool. Tell us how the red carpet premiere came into existence here.
Yeah, so this was just 3 or 4 nights ago. This was Sunday night. We're recording this. This is now Wednesday, but yeah, we linked up with Alamo Drafthouse, which is a great venue. I'd seen movies there. I'd never been to a private event, and we actually put some requests for quotes out there to a lot of theaters in the area to see who wanted to help us out. Alamo is definitely the most responsive, and we linked up with them. That's been planned for a little while, and we got all the cast and crew there. I think we were only missing 3 crew members, but I think we got almost everybody else, plus all their families, their guests. We actually sold out twice. We sold out the smaller theater. I say sold out, but this was all private screening, ticketed only. But we sold out the smaller theater. We had to upgrade to a larger theater. And then we ended up selling it out as well. So it was a really fun night. Even if the movie wasn't screening, it was actually just a really fun night to kick back with friends we've not seen in a while and, tell old stories and remember some stories from set and just kind of reconnect with folks we've not seen. And we showed about a 12-minute behind the scenes documentary kind of about the making of the movie. And then we did a Q&A, which you're looking at here with all the actors up on stage, and just kind of heard from everybody. And it was actually a really special night. It was pretty surreal. I was an autopilot all night. It kind of felt like a wedding where you just see everything happening around you and you have to remind yourself to kind of stop and soak it in. But it was a great night.
Jerry, you're the star of this film. You got a lot of screen time. Were you a little nervous about this? And what was this experience for this red carpet for you like?
I think John hit it with the surrealness of the red carpet. I just kind of wafted along the whole time. I was very happy. I was happy to see everybody get to finally see the full film, and I'm gonna touch on that magical. It was a little magical to see it, and I was shook by how good it was. I enjoyed it, and I'm my worst critic, so I'm the first person to say, "Oh, it was terrible." But I saw some parts in there that I was thinking, "Wow, that was a hard scene." Just remembering that line, so yeah, it was a lot, and I think it really hit me at the first night. And I'm putting the uniform on, and you had to let go of what happened the whole week prior, and all the stuff that you had to do in order to get ready for this, and it was awesome. It was a fantastic experience to be able to stand there with those guys, and John would give me a direction, and I would chase, and sometimes it was like, no, let's do it this way, and I'm directable, so I had a good time with it.
Tell me about this night for you. What was it like?
All those nights were absolutely just everything that I had hoped for. After seeing the grassy ridge footage, what was coming up, I followed Johnny ever since I knew he was going out on his own, and I knew why he went to Good Lord Bird. Like other people went to Good Lord Bird for the same reason, to find up and coming people that were passionate and wanted to create something and understood the artistic process. So, what was your question?
Your experience on the red carpet event and the premiere. Seeing the reaction by other people.
Event. Yeah, it was only my second red carpet. I'm not going to downplay my first one by any means, but the way Johnny set it up is just like what you'd see on any major movie award type night or red carpet event, like major A-listers. He made me feel like, I only speak for myself, but he made me feel like this is something super important. And it really is, not just for us to be seen, but for him to be seen, and like everyone down to Bell painting guns, every single person that helped make this happen, in 72 hours, in my time, it's unimaginable in my mind, the things that Johnny has gone through to make this happen and make it so important, not just for himself, but for everyone else. And I'm just so enthused that I could show up to that red carpet event with my head held high, knowing I did the best I could do. I had the privy to see some footage before I got there to go, wow, this is flipping amazing. I feel really, really good about this. And I just could not wait. The 28 hours I was gone from flight to flight, from my house to his house to back home. It was just a surreal experience. And I feel blessed to be part of everyone's new beginnings in some capacity. That's my experience. I am just absolutely floored with what everyone brought to the table. And I just can't wait to do more. I know we can be a great team.
That is so cool. Makes me want to work for Johnny. I'll tell you that right now. Will, tell us about your experience on this red carpet here. Since you bought that Batman suit, I can only imagine. I can't believe it.
Honestly, that's how it was for the first, a couple of hours that I was there. It was this, and I mentioned it actually there during the Q&A. It was this feeling of disconnect almost, because it is. You, me, and Johnny, we have, we've known each other for years, and we've all collaborated on video projects before. We've done, but it was always kind of like just insider stuff for fun, Finest House and some other stuff. Like it was just, it was cosplayers, and it was just stuff you either you did with friends or you did at a convention. Stuff like when we went down to the Yorktown and then did those pictures, those were great and they were awesome, but it felt like, friends and cosplayers doing something fun. This was completely different. what started as me just, buying another costume for myself, just being like, I want to wear this once in a while and have cool pictures I can post on Instagram. This became something different. It went from that to, like Johnny said, within the span of just taking some pictures. I remember looking at those pictures Johnny sent me after we took them in the garage. And I remember thinking, this looks like a movie poster. I wish we kind of had a movie attached to this. And then lo and behold, that became, the script. And then the script became going down to Petersburg. It was also pretty awesome that premiere was held on the weekend of my birthday. So I was thinking about that as well. And I was like having all these thoughts about it. But it basically became, it transformed from just something that friends and cosplayers do to basically it wrapped up a full circle experience of, actually doing something, professional and real, and kind of allowed me to, and I don't know if this is, me trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it made me feel, like I could relate or share something with some of the actors who play Batman, because, obviously ours is not as big budget, and I'm not ever going to be, you never know, but I don't expect to be Michael Keaton or any of those people. But functionally, like when we were on set those 3 days, that I've never been on a movie studio, but you can ask any of these guys. I don't think there's any real difference from what we did to what they do, except there's more money involved. And the fact that we actually not just saw this at someone's house on YouTube, we did a red carpet. We had people taking photos. We had, a good friend of ours, Dean Rogers, conducting interviews. It felt special. It felt unique, and I felt, I guess I have to use the word amazing. It just felt amazing and elevated to just be able to watch that the way we did, and to be able to watch it with a lot of people, because you could see that by yourself on your phone or at your house and be like, that was cool. But seeing other people along with you see it, and then like hear applause at the end of it, it feels good. It feels good.
Nice.
I'll leave it at that.
Very, very nice. Well said, guys. Johnny, the fruit of your labors, premiere night. Please give us a little of insight of what was going through your mind. Obviously, I know it took a lot of work to get together, and many thanks to Alamo Draft House. They are a wonderful theater chain. But tell us a little bit about this night. This was your night, and I can only imagine how much fun this was.
Yeah, I'll correct you. It definitely was not my night. It was. I wanted to make it a point to be our night, and I really wanted the night, to be for the actors. I get tired of hearing myself talk over and over, even if it's about Batman. So I was really anxious to kind of put the actors on the spot and give them the microphone and let the audience hear from them and get them to talk. And I think we accomplished that. I only put Jerry on the spot once with the very first question, but he'll forgive me for that. But that night for me, like I said, I was just kind of an autopilot. I was worried about you just go into work mode. You worry about the logistics. You worry about that banner stand, is the top of it steady? Is it going to fall over and kill somebody? Do we tape down the extension cord so nobody trips on them? Does Alamo have the correct file and the right aspect ratio, or is it going to chop off the tops and bottoms of my actors' heads in every frame? Like I said a minute ago, I kind of had to stop and just slap myself and say, just enjoy the moment. Don't worry about all the possible things that could go wrong. But I'm a planner by nature, so I do always kind of plan for worst case scenarios, and that's just who I am. But I just kind of went into autopilot that night, and just tried to enjoy it. I know I did not eat dinner, and I think I only got one drink that night, or maybe two. Skipped dinner completely, was just running around. But I just really wanted to make the most of those few hours, because like we talked about at the top of the show, Kevin, this has been a 2-year process, and no sane individual spends 2 years of their lives to get an 18-minute film out. That's just not something sane people do. But you do it if you love it, and if you do it if you care about it and you care about the art, and you get to a point where nothing's going to stop you from getting it out there. So for me, it's always been more about the journey to get here than it is about the destination. The fact that here we are, this is the destination. The premiere was the destination on Sunday night, and that destination was only 18 minutes long, but the journey to get there was 2 years. So you tell me which was more important. So I'm always trying to remind myself to just enjoy the journey. And the same could be said for life, by the way, not to get too cosmic on us here.
Well said, sir. I was living vicariously through all of you guys there. It looked like you were having a lot of fun. I thought that we would get to a little bit about the production, the early production, and some of the behind the scenes such. And here's as we just seen, a great picture here, you guys on the set. And these are the original pictures, of course. But Batman in action, guys. You were. This is a great behind the scenes shot here. Johnny, tell us a little bit about a little pre-production here and how you chose where to shoot.
Yeah, so we ended up in the city of Petersburg, Virginia, which is just south of Richmond. That's where we shot the bulk of the film. We actually had we looked at Philadelphia, we looked at Wilmington, Delaware, Newcastle, we looked at DC, Alexandria, and then we got into Virginia. We linked up with the Virginia Film Office, and they had a ton of resources to help filmmakers in Virginia find locations. So through them, we actually looked at Charlottesville, Harrisonburg. Oh my goodness, a lot of different towns in Virginia. But what I was looking for was kind of an older historic place that didn't look too touristy. I didn't want it to look like Old Town Alexandria, which is a very historic place, but it's really nice. There's a lot of money that's been dumped into it, so it feels kind of posh. And I wasn't looking for posh, for our Gotham City. I needed some back alleys and kind of some places that are old and historic and still kind of have that urban grit for Gotham. So we actually linked up with a filmmaker in Petersburg, a great guy named Bobby Lynch, who Jerry connected me with. And that's actually us in Bobby's retail space right there. He actually donated that space to us to use as our production base camp for 3 days. So nice. What that gave us tables, that gave us bathrooms, that gave us, and we were shooting all night shoots, Kevin. We shot well until the wee hours of the morning every night for 3 nights. So it was really important for us to find a base camp. And we had that local business owner offer his space up. And that really sealed the deal that Petersburg was going to be our place. We found our urban grit. We found our dark alleys and broken glass and bars on windows, all the things we needed for Gotham City. And as William mentioned before, we swept some of the real trash out of the alleys just so we could bring in our own fake trash. And that's really how we ended up in Petersburg. And I hate that street light that's on the right side of that frame. That street light was the bane of my existence for about 3 days. But you know what? That's indie film. When you're shooting on location, you gotta make some compromises and keep the show rolling. So we dealt with that street light. But
tell us about, you got some attention from the local press and some of the fans. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we did. You actually had a photo, a couple back there, where it showed a crowd that had formed across the street from us. That was a little bit of a tense night. We suddenly had a crowd show up and didn't exactly know where they came from. But we later found out it was actually a walking tour of the city. They were doing like a ghost tour type of thing. But we actually had to get William inside because they were just taking so many pictures of Batman, and it was distracting. I mean, I would too, right? If you see a Batman movie film and you're going to, but it actually scared me. Just right on the other side of that road cone that you're looking at in the picture is an actual street with traffic. And I was watching some of the crowd step out into the street to take pictures. And I'm thinking, this is just a safety thing. Like, I don't want their safety on my mind. So we had to rush Batman inside, and they finished their part of the ghost tour and walked off. But I think the day after that was when we made the front page of the Petersburg Progress Index. And there we go. Petersburg goes Gotham City. Made the front page. They actually did a full article on us, and it was a really, really great coverage and really good local boost for our movie.
Yeah, and hold on, before you go on, I'm not sure if people would appreciate this, and I'm not sure if Johnny remembers. We filmed this back in mid-November of last year, and one of the things that was really cool about this was, at the time, and I'm not sure how many of you guys or people watching would remember this, that's when, I'm not sure if it had been made official. People knew, but they still hadn't released any images. Michael Keaton was supposed to show up on the Batgirl movie. So rumors were out there. Nobody knew exactly what this was about. We only knew that Michael was going to be back in some way or fashion. So I thought it was amusing that I think some people actually thought that this was Michael Keaton filming in secret whatever was going to be in that movie.
Starting the rumors, aren't you there, Will? Awesome.
Kevin, I have a question. if you don't mind me asking, because one of the things that was so impressive with your production too was the quality of the costumes and everything like that. And I can only word it one way. Where did you get your wonderful toys?
Well, William grabbed the bat suit. That was the easy one. It was made by, like he said, a company down in Colombia called the Cave Creature Workshop. They did a great job, and the bat suit was done. William had that. He was the bat suit wrangler, and we're off to the races. The real pain in the ass was those Gotham City police costumes. We needed 2 of those costumes, one for Jerry and one for Chris. There you go. That's the original reference from Batman '89 on the left, and then on the right, that's Chris up top and Jerry on the bottom. We pretty painstakingly tried to recreate those classic Batman Gotham police outfits. And Kevin and Kyle, those 2 uniforms constituted about 25% of our total production budget to make this movie. So those were some expensive, elaborate uniforms. We had the epaulettes sewn on. John Broughton helped us out with that. He's a great wardrobe guy, of Farragut, Starship Farragut and Farragut Forward fame. John's one of his true passions lies in wardrobe, and he does such a great job with wardrobe, and he helped us out with those coats. Those patches were custom made by Patchazar, who is a small business here in Virginia that cranks out small orders of patches, and we commissioned him for those, which were
Go Patchazar, man. We love you.
That's right. Yeah, But yeah, those coats got pretty expensive pretty quick. Not just the coats, but the motorcycle boots, which Jerry's already talked about, which they're really good for riding motorcycles. They're less good when you try to walk miles and miles in those boots. And I can let Jerry talk about the boots, but the badges were custom made on the coats, the Sam Brown straps, the leather belts, the radios, the mag lights, everything on those, the caps, gloves, accessories. Those got pretty quick, and you would never know those cop costumes would be more elaborate and more expensive than the bat suit, but that's how it was.
Jerry, I would love to get your thoughts on shooting there in Virginia and just being in costume and the whole thing with the fans gathering. Give us a little insight on your feeling, because this is about a troubled cop story here, dealing with some big threats here. So
yeah. So I guess our very first night, everybody worked on this crew in the cast. Everybody did stuff additional to just, the actors didn't just act. They held stuff. They carried stuff. We all worked as a big team to make this happen. And we were walking to our first setup, and they were out there establishing the scene, and we were in our uniforms. And I guess we startled a lady as she was locking up her shop, and she thanked us for our service. And I don't know where you go with that, but we were like evening, and we kept walking because we didn't want to be getting the real cops called and saying why are there fake cops out there with guns, which we didn't have guns, but it looked like it, right? The whole process there was exhilarating. I kind of stood there like I was a real cop when the fans across the street were there. And, I wouldn't have put it past, if they started to come over and say, hey, okay, you guys can disperse now. You're in character. They probably thought we were cops, right?
I think you look a little imposing there, Jerry. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, but they had a extra on their ghost tour that most people probably don't get. So it was great. I thought we had every bit of weather. If it had snowed, it would have been the complete weather set up there. The grit from the city, and we got to use the ironworks, and standing in the rain. I've done it before. It's nothing new, but I felt like that was, something that was going to come out in the filmography of this. That it was going to be special because I was standing in the rain, and I was soaking wet. It was good though, because we were creating in that moment, and then it had that little fogginess that built in, and we got some great light off of the broken down sort of millworks that were in the back there. Just really, I could feel that we were making something that if it's not going to be special to anybody, it's going to be special to me. And I felt every bit of that rain, and I didn't really drink as much as the movie made me drink, but it was good. It was good. It was needed at that moment.
Oz, tell us a little bit about your experience shooting on set there. And I heard it might have been a little bit cold too.
No, I wasn't worried about the cold. That was like the least of the worry. I was just so super excited to be on set with good friends. You know, you see these movies made by like, Seth Rogen and, all that group that has their usual clique that just clicks and they just keep running and things. It's nice to have that rapport and, that rapport with the people you work with, whether it's touching a badge or having an intimate moment, on a different set with somebody else. It's just nice to know that, like, I love these people already. So instead of like going on a production and falling in love with these people and having a terrible goodbye, it's like, you already love these people, you're on set, and see you next time. The cold, no, I have a similar background. Like Jerry, we're both military or prior military. And, I've been in boot camp with training in the torrential downpour with the military grade laser tag called Miles gear. And you got to lay in that puddle until you get your shot or your moment. Otherwise, you get both of those back at you. So having that discipline already and knowing how much is involved in creating a certain scene, no matter if it's an indie film or a multi-million-dollar budget, if you can't keep your ass in a puddle for more than 20 minutes, you're not meant for the part. Let's get your stunt double and turn your face the other way. We didn't have that option. So I literally just grinned and bared it. I had my long johns on for the third day. The first 2 days, I was just like, I'm a damned Yankee. It's whatever. I got this. It wasn't that bad, but when it got to the point where I got the reverse punch in the face, and it's time for me to go out for the count for a little bit, that extended scene with Jerry, being lifted up or standing up, I'm on the ground, trying to do a seamless scene, if you will, but there's a decent chunk there where it's, in the low 30s ish, and the only thing I had to ask, is it okay if I put my fingers under my face as I lay on the ground? Because that would have been like, okay, let's do this 12 minutes at a time, because I don't want to just stick to the ground. But it really wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Awesome. William.
Do what you do to get to the shot.
William, I want to get your thoughts. You're in the costume here, as Johnny alluded to earlier. Had to hide you for a little bit. Kind of reminds me of those set scenes you see of the Batman 90 films, and they're having to put all of the stars under these big coats or blankets or tents and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about your experience shooting there in Virginia.
Yeah. It's funny though. We were probably so grassroots. We didn't even have money for a rope to hide the costume in. We just had to shoot it. Unlike Oz and Jerry and Johnny, I didn't have any experience when it comes to like filming on a set and having your pre-production and your lighting and all that kind of stuff. So I came at it really with an open mind, because we'd done as much preparation as we could. I credit Johnny for having storyboards, and it helped me figure out. And we'd already had sessions where we were choreographing what the fight would be. That had its own challenges because we couldn't have Oz there, so it was kind of like having to figure out the fight where only one of the people were involved in it. We also didn't have Jerry in there for the moment. We needed him in there. So I really just, kind of just nodded, and I thought, all right, this is going to be all new, so I'm going to try to keep an open mind and just be quiet and keep an open mind to if there's something that needs to be done, something that comes up that I wasn't expecting. I'm not going to like get frustrated and be like, oh no, this sucks. Like, I only prepared for this one thing. One of the things that I think Johnny alluded to earlier in the interview was when we were doing those original shots, he threw the question out there, man, I wonder how this suit moves. And that was actually a question that I still had when we got down to Petersburg, because a lot of the stuff that we were filming, it was being done for the first time. There's and the best example I can give you of this is there's a moment in the movie where Batman comes down between our cop and our mobster, and the way we got that was I had to jump off a 4.5-foot ledge, 5-foot ledge, something like that. And I remember we knew we were doing that. We knew it was going to come, but you can't practice it, all right? Because we don't have the money or the time to go down to Petersburg a weekend before to practice all that stuff in the bat suit. So it came time to do it, and it was like, all right. I have this vivid memory of being up there. I've already been in the bat suit, God, probably a couple of hours, and I was in that thing hours at a time, which in and of itself was new. Before that, I'd never worn the suit for more than 90 minutes. And as Johnny and everybody else mentioned, we filmed some long nights. I even ended up having to wear that thing the first night, even though I wasn't supposed to. So I just said, all right, okay. I was supposed to be Johnny Gobbs and just lay on the floor for a couple of hours, and that was it.
Nice.
And I have this memory of just being up on that ledge. I've climbed up. There's a lamp that's, with the ears. I think I have maybe 2 inches of like space between hitting that thing. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I've never done it. And I'm just looking down, and I'm like, all right, I have a suit that weighs about 30 pounds, and I'm tired. It's been a couple of hours. And John just asked me, looks up, and he's like, you know what you're doing. You know how you're going to land, right? And I just quietly thought to myself for a moment, I'm like, I don't. But I just looked at him, and I said, I got this. And we hit the smoke machine. He yelled, action. And I just leaped off, and because I was so worried about the suit and whether or not it would have any give, I just didn't bend the knees and anything, just landed ramrod straight. And much like a cartoon, that thing just went like, brrr, the vibration just went all the way up. And I just remember thinking okay, I just discovered how not to do that. And Johnny quickly
awesome.
goes like, are you okay? Are you okay? Can you give me another one? And I think I said, Johnny, give me 10 seconds and I will give you another one. But, after that, we just kept going. And honestly, yeah, like I just learned so much. I have a new appreciation for just all the stuff that goes into just even a scene, like just trying to throw a batarang. We can probably talk about that for minutes at a time about how bloody horrible it was trying to throw a batarang.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought up the batarang, William, because I'd like to actually talk a little bit more about the props that you guys did. You guys are very thorough, Johnny. And because this is an 89 Batman prequel, and this is my personal DVD copy of Batman, I brought my own prop with me. This is only one of a kind. I made it myself. Ooh. Just so, no one gets sued by Warner Brothers. This is my copy of the case, what the case might look like if there was a DVD release of The Oath. But Johnny, you guys did a really good job of not just the costumes and the setting, but you guys had some fun. And the movie starts off with a great back shot. You alluded to it earlier, a screenshot of Gotham. Start there.
Yeah, so the guy in the picture there with me is a great friend of mine, known him almost 20 years now, named Joe Gransky. And Joe is a really accomplished oil painter. He's actually known as a portrait artist, and he does a lot of oil portrait art. He paints folks on their wedding days. I've seen him paint people's pets. Anything you want an oil painting of, Joe is the kind of the go-to guy. And I knew I wanted The Oath because we're trying to do as many callbacks to Batman 89 as possible. And I knew I wanted The Oath to actually open up with a matte painting similar to what was done in 1989. And I contacted Joe and said, hey, how do you feel about painting a Gotham City skyline for me? And I didn't want him to rip off Batman 89. I asked him to give me the same view of the city, but maybe from a half mile down the river. Just give me a slightly different vantage point of the same city that we're used to seeing. And Joe said, yeah, I got this. So he cranked out a prototype painting first, and he actually ended up doing it in acrylic. for cost reasons, and I think there might have been some light reflectivity issues with the camera. But he ended up doing an acrylic prototype, and I mentioned it before. We actually put that up as a perk for our crowdfunding campaign, and somebody snatched that within an hour. And then this piece here is the final piece. I think it's 24 by 36, and you might look behind me and see what became of that painting, because I knew it was going to go on my wall after all this was over with. And that's where it is, and that's where it's going to stay for a while. But that painting, we got it into the computer, into the digital space, did a lot of VFX on it, dressed it up. I think we put in something like 200 streetlights, individual streetlights were placed on all those streets, and then some boats and some waves and some moonlight reflection. There's a lot of work done to that painting to kind of make it what you see the final product is in the movie. And I heard some gasps at the premiere the other night when that popped up. We heard some good gasps in the theater. So super happy with it. And like I said, now I've got new artwork. That was my ulterior motive. I wanted new artwork.
Well, tell us a little bit more about some of the other stuff that you've done here with props, because I thought this was really cool. I wanted to bring this one up here, that you think someone went home with a cool memento of the film here.
Yeah, we found a great newspaper box right there in Petersburg, and we stuck some stickers on it and put a Gotham Globe newspaper in there. It's just typical set dressing stuff. And of course, we were shooting multiple days in a row, and we weren't going to clean all that off every day. We were just going to use it again the next day. So we left it on. And then the next day, we showed up to set, and the newspaper is missing. So, all right, somebody got a nice souvenir. So our props department quickly made another one, stuck it in there, and we shot another night. Went to the hotel, crashed, came back. Next day, newspaper's gone. So every day we showed up, the newspaper was gone. So I'm not sure if it was the same person stealing a paper or if it was a different person every day, but they have their very own Gotham Globe newspaper, or a couple of them. And then that picture there, that's the cape to William's costume. That's John Broughton. He's actually trimming a few inches off the bottom of it for the fight scene. The same thing they did with Michael Keaton back in '89. He had a few capes of varying lengths, him and his movement doubles. And to be able to jump in the Batmobile and do certain things, the capes were all different lengths. We only had one cape, so we needed to chop it down right before the fight scene just for safety. That's the Batarang. That's actually, we got permission from NECA Toys up in New Jersey. They produce replica, all kinds of stuff, really cool stuff. And they produce a replica Batarang and also like the Batman spear gun launcher. And I contacted NECA early on. I said, hey, we really want to use your stuff in our movie. Are we good to go? Can we do that? And the lawyer wrote back and said, yeah, absolutely. We'll write you over a release to use our stuff. And we did. So we featured the spear gun and the Batarang and had a real good time doing it. That's just that's another detail shot of the Gotham Globe newspapers that we had printed up. That's actually the main newspaper that was featured in our last scene. And all those are real articles, by the way. All the articles in that newspaper are actual in-universe articles about Harvey Dent, about Mayor Borg, about Gotham City's 200th birthday party. There's some Batman '89 fans who made this movie. So we're not going to make a bogus newspaper with a bunch of fluff in it. We're actually going to put some stuff in there that's reflective of the universe. And there you go.
Kevin, I have this envisionment. I have this envisionment of Johnny being at a convention as a guest someday, and somebody's going to come up with one of those Gotham Globe papers for him to sign.
All right, guys. As we wrap things up here, I wanted to first of all just chat with the cast again real quick. William, let's start with you real quick here. I wanted to, first of all, I remember when you got that Batman suit, and maybe it's your jawline or something. I'm not sure what it is, but you definitely look the part. And when I was watching the film again, you had the movements, you had, maybe it was also the lack of movements that the suit provided or didn't provide for you. But I just wanted to kind of get your final thoughts here on your production and your time spent here on The Oath, a Batman fan film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had the same reaction you did when when I first saw what I looked like in the suit and I saw that jawline, it was even in the premiere. I remember just looking up on the screen and seeing, one of those images and being like, yeah, I guess that is me up there. It's surreal. It's crazy. I remember throughout the entirety of making this thing, actually, Johnny would often tell me, I'm like, I can sell you as Batman. I can't sell you as Michael Keaton, but I can sell you as Batman. And I'm like, that is right on the money. Looking back on it, I wouldn't change a thing. Like if I could, I would do it all over again because it was such a unique experience and such an amazing experience. And everybody else has already alluded to it, so I won't I won't add too much more to it, but it is a unique experience and it was something really awesome to just be able to, and I had never met any of them. I only knew Johnny, I knew Heather, from Base Camp, John Brown, but the other actors, I never knew any of them. And right away, just being able to work with them and feel confident, especially since it was my first time doing anything like this, it was just really awesome, really unique, being able to just work with a really good group of people and just immediately just say, we're on the same page here. We want to do the best we can and just get down to it and really make some good work very quickly. So, that was awesome. The suit had its challenges. Absolutely. But that's kind of part of it. And I think the more I wore the suit, the more tense I got. I was very in character the entire time I was in the suit for no other reason that I was aware if I ever screw something up, it just means one more minute I have to spend in the suit. So that was my motivation to try and do everything as well as I could. But no, like it was crazy. There are so many memories I'll keep the rest of my life. I remember having everybody around me at 25 degrees being bitterly cold and me thinking like it was 75 degrees because that thing doesn't breathe, and just a bunch of stuff like that. And I'll just those are memories I'll keep forever, and I get to forever say that for an 18-minute period of time I live somewhere forever on perpetuity in the internet, I'm Batman. That's awesome to me.
That's great. Oz, I want to go to you here.
Yes, sir.
First of all, you looked great. You really did. And Atlas just looked like someone that, let me be honest with you. When I saw you in your suit and you doing, touching the badge and just holding the money and tempting him with it, are we going to have a problem here? When I watch the Batman '89 movie again, I'm thinking like, Grissom, you better watch out, man.
I wanted his job. I knew that Napier was a loose cannon. I don't remember if there's an actual number of captains that Grissom has. I don't know if that's ever been verbalized, but I treated it as though I'm up against one other known jackass, and I wanted his job. So I wanted to remain focused and just get what I wanted.
What are you gonna take away from this picture that you did here with Johnny? What I know that's a loaded question, but when you look back on this event, though, what is it that means the most to you?
Just inherent love across the board, and knowing that I just feel as though we can knock it out of the park again. It's a collaborative effort, or I just walk in saying, here, Oz, here's your script. Let's run with this. Do what you did last time. Or if we can all collaborate together and just make something really intricate in that shortened amount of time, in that week's time span, I don't know if we can make 3 short movies in a week's time span for a movie plot, but I would love to do another one. And just knowing I can show up at this man's front door one day and just say, hey man, I need a hug, and I'll get one. It's just wonderful to know. Taken away from this, just the other part of it is there's so many actors out there that don't even watch themselves on screen. Anything, a lot of A-listers, they'll just do a thing, go in there and go, you're happy? All right, good. I'm happy. I'm just going to move on and forget those lines and go on to the next thing. We are our own worst critics, no matter who you are, whether you draw, paint, act, sing, whatever. I've seen myself in some things and I cringe. Not just whether it's because I did it or how it was put together, but I'll save that for Leno someday when I say, "Oh yeah, my first experience was a shit show," whatever. But I'm taking away from this going, if I never have the experience to work with Kaotica Studios or with any of these guys again, I'll have the pleasure of knowing at least I was able to have that chance to do that.
That's great. That's awesome. Well said. Jerry, I want to get your thoughts here as we wrap things up. Sergeant Frank Kelly, probably one of the least corrupted and hero cops left in Gotham. And I think you got a little help too, which was really, really cool to see. But I want to get your thoughts on your takeaway of working on The Oath, a Batman fan film.
Well, I'm blown away. I mean, I can't thank Johnny enough to have had me and picked me in this character and really wrote towards me as the character. And I can only hope that I brought Sergeant Kelly to life and that he might have legs for another 18 minutes. But to be, to be on the set and to work that team effort, it was fantastic. You can't put a price on the folks that came in and formed together, and we created something, right? And that art that's created, it was a compilation of all the stuff that we did in there. And I mean, John's vision, I'm hoping that what we ended up with was the vision that he had looked for. You can't really explain the feelings on a set that you're at 3 a.m. and we've got to set up for one more, right? And there was no thoughts to it. Everybody was like, all right, let's go. And obviously, at 3 we were trying to wrap and be done because some of us had to drive a little ways to get home and stuff, but it was worth it. We were ready to go that extra mile. I mean, I would have slept in the building there, had the need arised. But that's the level of dedication that John instilled upon all of us, to want to come in there and to spend that time and take that effort to make something that I like it. I'm just blown away by it, and like I said, all the actors, the professionalism, and of course John's direction. He's a good director, and that as an actor, you want somebody that convey the vision, the imagery. You want somebody that can actually not just direct, but to put the image in your head that they want to see. And John was able to do that every step of the way.
Well said. And I just want to mention too that what I liked about your character, and Johnny, I know this goes with your writing, Jerry, it was that when it comes to superhero films, when it comes to the main draw of the film, what is really good to see is when you have the other guys, the other people that can bring light to the story and some humanity to it, basically. And Jerry, that's what you did. You brought humanity to a conundrum that a man was facing, dealing with someone that they were going to lose unless he got help. And when it comes to losing someone that you love, that's something that a lot of people can feel, and you did a great job showcasing that. Just want to mention that.
Oh, thank you.
Johnny, so proud of you, man. So proud of you. I just wanted you to kind of close out, and before I go into the other stuff that you've been working on, this has been a labor of love, obviously, and your friends here, your crew, your cast obviously have said high praise here, and I just kind of want you to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks. No, I appreciate these guys. They've said some really nice things that I hope to hear them say again one day. I wanted this to be about them, and my biggest goal for all of this is to really make sure that there's more eyeballs on these actors, because in case you didn't notice, Kevin, these are some really talented actors. They were able to carry this, and I think, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I think we really lucked out, and I think really quality acting and performances really help separate a lot of the independent films and fan films, right down the middle. Some are made on different budgets, but in our case, we really lucked up with some super talented actors. The Oath is a performance piece. This is not a Batman jumps in the Batmobile and beats up a supervillain, and then the music rolls and the credits roll. Like, that's not what The Oath is. That's never been what The Oath is. I actually found it really challenging to market this movie, because how do you make a Batman movie that's not really about Batman? In my vision, Batman in The Oath was always the shark in Jaws. He was always Michael Myers. In Halloween, you're kind of seeing this thing from someone else's viewpoint, and that worked out really well for Batman '89 to kind of fit into that world, because Batman wasn't really out there yet. There was no bat signal. There was no any of that we eventually kind of come to know about Batman. Batman in this time was just kind of a costumed freak beating up criminals, and the police didn't know much about him or what to think about him. And we kind of made this movie knowing that it was not going to be a movie about Batman, but it's really tough to market that. Jerry is a super handsome, good looking dude, but to put the butts in the seat, if it's Jerry in a leather coat and a cop costume, or it's Batman, I mean, you guys tell me which is going to make people click more buttons. And the answer is probably not going to be Jerry, even though I love him. But it was really kind of a challenge for me to market this as the movie that I knew it was going to be, without kind of spoiling it or without really getting it out there. Because if you start talking about how great this cop is, everybody's going to know, oh, well, this is a spoiler. That probably means he's not that great of a cop. So it was actually a really challenging movie to kind of market and get out there. And my hope is now that people are seeing it. And if you look at our YouTube comments, we just premiered last night on YouTube, and you look at all the comments that people have been putting on YouTube, the folks who get it really get it. Some of the things that they've written out, they really understand the plot. This guy was saved. Batman was almost this savior figure who has saved this cop who was teetering on the edge. And, Batman's nickname is the world's greatest detective. And I always looked at Batman in the story like he wasn't just going to beat somebody up. There's another side of Keaton's Batman, where he is using his brain. And if he can see that this cop is, just one bribe away from becoming another problem, maybe the world's greatest detective, instead of just pummeling the guy to death, maybe he would think about it and say, you know what, there's a chance here to save somebody. And that's always kind of been, The Oath has always had a lot of heart. It's never been a superhero movie where the good guy just beats up the bad guy. And I always had a little bit of fear that audiences would expect a high budget summer blockbuster comic book movie. And I've always known for 2 years that that's not what they're going to get. But what they did get, the folks who get it, I think are absolutely very happy with it. I'm really encouraged by the comments that we've gotten, especially the ones that talk about the performances of these actors. There's a lot of comments about, we've really hit the 1989 tone and vibe, and those mean a lot to me because we really tried to do that a lot. So just to kind of wrap up my piece of this, I really hope that even though this movie will never make $1, that's not the point. This is not made to make anybody rich. This is made because we had a story to tell. And once you get committed to telling your story, there's nothing that's going to stop you. So the best benefit for this, for me, I think, is the more eyeballs that we can get on our cast and crew and folks just to look at the talent that went into this. I really hope that this is a stepping stone to these guys and really leads them to other stuff. That's kind of what's on my mind right now.
Well said. Well said. I'm so excited for all of you guys. And I was pins and needles waiting for the YouTube premiere last night. And it was fun to watch it with Kyle. Kyle and I watched it together online. And then I watched it again and again. And tapped into Batman '89 again, and what's cool is that I can see everyone's characters just sliding directly into that world. And I love that you were able to do that for fans. Johnny, before we wrap things up here, I just wanted to mention real quick that obviously you are award-winning film director here, you Killer of Grassy Ridge, but you also got some others coming out. We did a special with Farragut Forward with John, promoting the trailer that you guys had, and then you have another project coming out here called Red Eagle. Can you tell us a little bit about the update on these?
Yeah, sure. For a guy who said he would never really get into fan films, I've done a pretty good job of making like 3 of them back to back to back. Yeah, so we'll start with Farragut Forward. We're actually right in the middle of production. We kicked off filming for Farragut Forward back in October of 2022. We had a fantastic opening weekend of filming. It was a pretty action-packed weekend. We filmed a lot of the action scenes, and it was great. We have top-notch cast and crew working on Farragut Forward. A lot of the crew from The Oath came over to Farragut Forward, so it's a lot of the usual suspects. My first AD, Ramel Punzal, Case Aiken, Bell Bredehoft, a lot of the folks you would know from Farragut, and obviously John Broughton. A lot of the folks you would know from The Oath are all working Farragut, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Unlike The Oath, where we shot everything in 3 days, Farragut we're actually shooting over the course of a year. So our first filming weekend was October. Our next shoot is scheduled for January. We're shooting again in March and then in June, and then we'll wrap up post-production toward the last half of 2023 or the last quarter of 2023. So it is a marathon. It's a year-long project. We are still fundraising for that, by the way, so you can check out Indiegogo, Farragut Forward. We are trying to hit the $50,000 cap that Paramount CBS puts on Star Trek fan films. Right now, we're somewhere around 35 or 40,000, and starships don't build themselves, and lumber is not cheap. So if you can, head over there and help us. We're still crowdfunding that, and thanks to everybody who has already contributed. And then Red Eagle 1 is the other poster you popped up there. That's actually what I called my COVID film. We shot that, the bulk of that, around the house in 2020 when the world was under lockdown. We tried to do it with a kind of a skeleton cast and crew. That's Jason White there in the photo. He's our star of Red Eagle 1. He was also our fight coordinator on The Oath, who helped William a lot with the bat suit and how to fight in that. Red Eagle 1 is yet to be released. We had a rough cut put together, and that one is self-financed. There's no crowdfunding there, so there's no external pressures to get that one out until it's 100% ready. And the rough cut that I saw, I'm working with still, and I'm not going to put that movie out until I'm 100% happy with it, because there is something very special there. We worked with a couple of awesome child actors. And then Jason, who you just saw, plays the adult version of one of the child actors. And I actually have some things in mind for how we can go back and get a couple of reshoots on Red Eagle 1 to make it even better. We did crowdfund The Oath, and we did crowdfund Farragut Forward. So the projects that we're actively taking people's money from, those did, jump ahead of Red Eagle 1, which is self-financed. So I'm going to get back to that in my time, hopefully next year, and be able to put that movie out. It'll be another short. And it's a special story, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's what we got going on. No slow days around here.
That's awesome, man. Well, first of all, I want to thank all you guys here, and let's go ahead. William, why don't you let us know how we can find you on social media? And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. For you, anytime. Yeah, normally the one I check out the most is usually Instagram. You can find me at William_J87. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's close to that. So yeah, there's also, you can also find me on Twitter and Facebook, but IG is the one I'll probably check the most. Gotcha.
All right. Let's go ahead, go to Oz. Oz, where can we find you?
See, I have a Instagram, Oz__ Keenum, simple. OZ_KEENUM. I have the Facebook as well. I don't have my own webpage yet, but if you followed anything on IMDb, that'll basically direct you anything that I'm in. There's also some crime reenactment shows that I've just kind of popped up on recently on Discovery ID.
Nice.
Yeah, just check out IMDb. There's another short movie coming out too. Come Home. Taylor Hartley.
Great. Jerry, first of all, again, congratulations. And
Thank you.
I want to see more of Sergeant Frank Kelly and see what happens. Maybe we'll see something. Who knows? But where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
It's simple. Jerry Morgan on Facebook. I have an actors page there, and you can find me there. I usually try and answer folks' questions and stuff like that. So, that's it.
Great.
I'm going to keep it simple.
And Johnny, I know you lead there, Kaotica Studios. Where can we reach you? And if people want to, reach out to you about more films, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, definitely check out the studio page. Whoever put that logo up, that's perfect timing. Kaotica Studios, we're on all social media except TikTok because I refuse to do TikTok. And you can get me directly, that Johnny K guy on Twitter. That's the best place to grab me directly. Otherwise, Kaotica Studios for everything.
Awesome. Kyle, where can we find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW or on Instagram at AKyleFandom. Real quick too, guys, I just wanted to tell you personally, Batman '89 is an absolutely huge film for me. I have been a comic book fan all my life. Some of the first things I remember reading are comic books. When that film came out, it was a big deal for me. I saw it multiple times in the theaters. It's still one of my favorite films. I watched this fan film you guys made last night, and it took me right in there from minute one with the atmosphere and your performances, and you could feel the love and just how you guys brought yourself into that world. And I felt like you guys all could have been in and should have been in the actual Batman '89 film. You did a phenomenal job. Johnny, we know how talented you are, and it just shines again in this short film. And Jerry, Oz, Jay, everybody just was fantastic. And I just wanted to give my props to you, and I'm really looking forward to what all of you guys can do and hopefully collaborate again on future projects, whether it's a sequel to The Oath or something else. But you guys, the talent you guys showed was amazing, and thank you for doing such an amazing fan film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I'd like to echo those words that Kyle did, and thank you guys for coming on the Fandom Podcast Network. And we're proud to showcase all things fandom, and of course that includes The Oath itself. And I just want to say, Johnny, thanks again. I'm very, very proud of you, and I love that you have this wonderful family of friends and actors and that are willing to do this stuff with you. And you've done an excellent job showcasing them, and I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having us on. You guys are always our biggest fans, cheering us along, and you're always the first to call us up and say, hey, we got to get you on the show. We got to help promote. And it's always you guys coming up with that. It's never me coming to you. It's always you guys offering to do it. And that's a pretty big deal. So we appreciate you guys big time.
You bet. You bet, guys. My name is Kevin. You guys can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. And Fandom Podcast Network is also on not only on Facebook, but also on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you check us out and give us a subscribe also on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're watching this now, we'd love you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and give us a little like there. We'd appreciate it, and leave some comments. And I want to thank Johnny. I want to thank Kyle, Jerry, William, and Oz. Thank you guys all so much for doing what you're doing here, and really, really excited to see what comes of this. And more Batman is always good, but when it's done with labor of love from fans, Johnny, it means something extra special. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening and you've been watching Culture Clash Live here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Please stay tuned for more cool stuff coming up on the network, and check out fpnet.podbean.com for the master audio feed. We've got a lot of great shows there for fans, for Star Trek, Star Wars, Highlander, movies, you name it, we cover it. So anyway, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me, buddy. Appreciate you.
It's always good to be here. It's great to support such amazing, talented people who put out such amazing product, and it's always fun to catch up with Johnny and see what he's doing. And guy, like I said, I watched it and had a lot of pride for watching some amazing work. So thanks again, guys.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you later, and thank you everyone for YouTube and watching and listening. Please let us know what else you'd like to see for the network. Anyway, from us here at the Fandom Podcast Network. See you guys later.
Thanks, man.